We're spending a few minutes with Bryan Taunton, candidate for mayor of the city of Sylacauga in the August city elections. And Bryan, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful, Jimmy Dale. Thank you for having me.
You know, turn the clock back to 2016. That's a long time ago.
A few years ago, yeah, indeed. A lot's happened, a lot has changed since then in our city. You know, I ran that election, and I'll be honest, I ran that election and I thought I could buy it. Mm-hmm. Not that I didn't have the best intentions for the city, but I spent a lot of money, my personal money, on that election, and I learned not to ever do that again. You know, you can have all the billboard signs and everything that you want to, but they don't vote. You got to get to the people, so that's what we're focused on this go around. I lost by about right at 300 votes in a runoff against current Mayor Jim Heigl in 2016, and really was determined to never do it again. But Jimmy, anywhere I went, people would ask me, "Are you going to run again? Will you try again? We need you." Most especially over this past year. Mm-hmm. And then honestly, after what we saw in the leadership going through our quote-unquote immigration crisis, I said our city needs a voice. Somebody that loves our community needs to step up. And Laura and I prayed about it, and it just came down to, if I don't, who will? Who really loves this city and is as engaged in the community as I've been over the years, and demonstrated a deep love and passion for this city. And I think I have. For people who don't know Bryan Taunton, who is Bryan Taunton? Oh, Bryan Taunton is pretty much a lifetime resident of the city of Sylacauga. Came up through the Sylacauga school system, met the love of my life, Laura Epperson, in high school. She was a freshman. I was a senior. She was 14. I was 17 when we first started dating, and we have been together ever since. Married for 37 years. Have two beautiful children. One's Lauren Layton. She runs events at the Parks and Rec now. She's married to Andy Layton, who is a police officer with the city of Sylacauga. Got a beautiful granddaughter, Stella. And then my son, Hunter Taunton, works in logistics at Heritage Freight. And his wife works at the hospital, and she's what is she? She's an MRI tech. And then we have our granddaughter with them, Brenley. So I've lived here, I've done business here, worked out of Sylacauga. I did move away for 4 years. I was vice president of administration for Hickory River Farms, and we moved to Valdosta, Georgia, to do that for about 4 years until we moved back home.
Now, you know a lot about Sylacauga, the logistics of it, and you're really involved in our city already. Yes. Before deciding to run for mayor.
Right. I've been, well, I mean, I served on the board of the ARC for roughly 10 years and working and helping them engage with the city there. And we accomplished some wonderful things. And I was able to work and get Leah, who currently runs the ARC, and Chelsea there. They are a dynamic duo. We got them. I felt good. I left that board and went over to the Commercial Development Authority board and started giving a lot of my time there. And I've been volunteering there for about 10 years now. And we've had some outstanding success there. When we took it over, that organization had just become the people that were once running it, good people, had just lost interest in the project, and they weren't getting a lot of inspiration from the city or a lot of direction from the city. I'm not the kind of person that needs that. So when I was asked to step in and chair the organization, I took it over and I brought vision. I put it back together administratively, and basically we had to restructure the entire authority. And since then, over the past 10 years, we've generated over $800,000 in annual tax revenue. We're responsible for helping to bring in a little over $12 million in added new construction to our city. So it's been wonderful to watch, and there's more on the way. I can't get into some of that stuff right now, but we've got other people or groups, developers that we're in discussions with right now.
We're talking with Bryan Taunton, candidate for mayor of the city of Sylacauga in the August 26th, isn't it?
Yes, August
And
26th.
it'll be here before you know it for sure. You know how important industry is to the growth and success of any city, and Sylacauga as well. Talk a little bit about your background in that.
Well, having worked with and built several companies myself, in fact, my last one selling it off to Gold's Gym International, it's a large personal training company in Birmingham, and working in other corporations that I have as a problem solver. I look at our city, and Jimmy, I think most people don't realize that, and please mind what I'm saying. I'm not saying that there's been no new industry that's come to our community, but we've not added any square footage to our industrial footprint. And that's a major problem in our city right now. We can't grow industrially because if we had a major company that wanted to come into Sylacauga, we've got no place to put them inside the city limits. That's a major issue that we need to address. We've got to grow our opportunities in that area and expand our industrial potential. Now, how do we do that in our current situation? What we need to do is start focusing on annexing property, expanding it, and that does another thing. It expands our population base, which we're down to about 12,170 some odd people, maybe a little lower than that now. But statistically, every 2 years, we're dropping about 200 people. If we drop below 12,000 people, that changes the structure of our city government. That reduces our visibility and interest from industries that want to come in. So we don't need that. So start expanding, put together an incentive package, whatever we need to do, come up with some creative ideas on expanding our geographic boundaries of the city to create more industrial opportunities in terms of location. Now, what do we do in the meantime? Well, we've got to work with what we've got. We've got a fantastic broadband structure in our city. We're an interstate hub. That's very attractive to companies. Matter of fact, I'm talking with a database management company developer right now that wants to come to Sylacauga. They're going to employ about 80 to 100 people. Okay? That's the kind of industry or commercial entities that we can go after. The trend right now in industry, Jimmy Dale, is from from production to consumer. So what do? We go after those industries that start out, they're running 20 to upwards to maybe 100 employees that don't need a lot of square footage right now. We help them get started and up and running or expand their existing business in that way, because that's the fastest growing trend in industry. That's what we need to be looking at. That needs to be our interest, which is a great segue over into how do we partner with and make use of the Earth program that SAFE is putting together. People, listen, you don't realize what a fantastic opportunity this is for our city and what they're going to be doing and the people they've partnered with to get here. They're going to be bringing in very ingenious and innovative companies that are working with a lot of cutting edge stuff. We need to make sure that we're partnering with Earth so that when these companies outgrow the incubation space that they have in Earth, that we're right there, stride for stride with them to help them find a location to stay right here in Sylacauga. It's a fantastic jumping point that we need to make sure that we make use of.
Bryan Taunton with us today is candidate for mayor of the city of Sylacauga. Now, with our industrial development area, and a lot of people, well, we want this restaurant, we want that restaurant, we need a bowling center, we need skating centers. How can we put our arms around all of this?
All right, let's talk sense about that. I know there's a lot of people right now that want family entertainment in our city, and I am right there with you. But look, those are private commercial interest. That's not, I mean, the city doesn't build a skating ring, it doesn't build a bowling alley or anything like that. So we need private interest to come to Sylacauga or someone here in Sylacauga to invest in that. How do we make that happen? It's a simple formula. We grow our industry. By growing your industry and bringing more people into the city to work jobs, you create residential interest. Then a residential developer is going to come to our city and want to build houses for these people. As residential and population continues to grow, then those private parties that are out there that would invest in these type of family-friendly entities and entertainment systems will look at Sylacauga as a viable place to come and do business. That's what we've got to do. We've got to grow, grow, and grow. And then those things will automatically come. Now, what I can say is that we continue to inspire and support our rec department, which has some fantastic plans. Unfortunately, it's been very slow and coming, but we're getting there. There's actually progress that's being made. So our new administration needs to make sure that we continue having that forward progress in that area. And we can get into my ideas on how all that went down, but the bottom line is it's happening, and we're so deep into it, there's no backing out of it. So the question is, what do we do with it from there? And I think Steve Masters and the folks at the rec have got some fantastic ideas. And then I'll also say this, Jimmy. Everybody talks about family entertainment, but when the rec is working hard to provide these opportunities, many aren't making use of them. So there is opportunity there. We've just got to get out and do it. But in terms of those private family entertainment centers, which I think we can offer some creative incentive packages to attract them here to our city. That's one avenue. We need to promote that. But we also need a mayor like me who's going to go to the trade shows and create those conversations and network with people who would be interested in coming to our city. That's one of my main objectives.
I had someone say to me recently, when I didn't think it could get worse at City Hall, it got worse. How can that be repaired?
Well, let's get straight to the heart of the problem. Here's a problem at City Hall. And I'm not going to down Jim. He's our mayor. But at the same time, a lot of what's happening there is due to great overreaches by our current city council and to the executive branch of government. And when I say that, I'm not simply talking about in city council meetings. Jimmy, I think we need a lot of cities have this policy, in that city council members are not allowed to speak to city employees on city business regarding their jobs, regarding their expectations. Keep it social, because that's the mayor's job. His job is to run the city. Mm-hmm. And what we've had for years in our city is we've got city council members that are jumping over into the mayor's turf, and they're spending hours and hours and hours up at City Hall. They're developing their little relationships and their little niche communities that they have, and talking amongst one another.
You're not real fond of that, are you?
No, sir. No, sir. We need to put it to a stop. We need to go back and look at every resolution this city council has passed that breaches and overreaches to the executive branch of government, and we need to elect a favorable city council that will abolish those things, turn them around, and in some cases might be a good ordinance, but we need to do some rephrasing in there. For instance, in the termination of the city clerk, Alex, the mayor has every right, according to standard operating policy. The ordinance that they've cited in there is very confusing and convoluted. Just think of the governmental process on a federal level, how that works. Your president makes a cabinet appointment. Mm-hmm. Then it goes to the Senate. Then the Senate confirms that appointment. After they confirm it, that individual starts their position. At any time, the president can terminate that individual. Why? Because he's the executive branch of government. He runs the government. That's his responsibility. Now, if he terminates them, what does he do? He has to start that entire process again. Make his selection, make his recommendation to the Senate, and then they confirm. The president makes the appointment. Now, in the case of a municipality, what should take place is the mayor is the one that sits down and goes through all the interviews. He makes his selection. He comes up with his recommendation. He then makes a recommendation to the Civil Service Board because we have a CSB in play in our city. Take a look. If there's an exam that they need to take the exam, get their recommendation. After he has that, then he goes to City Council, not for an appointment, but for a final confirmation on his appointment. And then he has full decision making over the employees of the city.
What would you say to people who I'm sure have posed this question to you as I have others? Our city is an embarrassment to a lot of people across other parts of the state of Alabama and our country.
Jimmy, it's a very frustrating truth to me because I deal with it on a very real level. As president of the Commercial Development Authority, you know, we negotiated an exclusive deal to develop the Purcell property next to Home Depot. It's 52 acres there. Now here's something we didn't talk about because we didn't want to make it real public. But there's no harm. The Purcells offered to the Commercial Development Authority that if we pulled a deal off and got their price point on that property, that the 52 acres behind it on the other side of the railroad tracks would be donated to the Commercial Development Authority.
When was this?
This was last year in 2024. Wow. I began negotiations. I found a development company. I'm under an NDA. I can't call their name, but if you would be willing to sign one, I can give you their name. We reached an agreement. They began to a development plan for that site. They had a layout, had a rendering. They were negotiating LOIs with various tenants and retailers, some of which, well, all of them were national brands. Just the front section alone was going to be a $45 million development. Now, unfortunately, we had that whole Sylacauga went famous for all the wrong reasons, if you guys remember, over that immigration fiasco, which incidentally wasn't anything like it was made out to be. I mean, I'm not going to get into my position on immigration, but
that's another story for another day.
That's another story. Well, they saw us on headline news. Two of the partners there, one started watching Paul Stepp's channel on YouTube, and they started watching our city council meetings. It didn't fare well. I got the call a week after Christmas telling me that, Bryan, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you know, we're approaching $10,000 mark in terms of our research development that we've got in on this project right now. And based on what we're seeing through your city council meetings, we do not feel that your city government is going to be able to communicate or come to terms, an agreement with one another on the infrastructure and incentive package we're going to need to develop this piece of property. And we're just not going to put any more time in this. Wow. Maybe when things get better in the future, we'll take a look at it. We might revisit it if you don't find another developer. So we lost a $45 million development because of the antics at City Hall. And it hasn't gotten any better, Jimmy. There's an ongoing issue, and I'm telling you, where most of this stems from is because of the constant yah-yahing that's going on, not just among city council, but then among city employees that are intermingling with city council, and they're having these private conversations and setting their tone and their agenda as they're going into these meetings. They're operating with certain personal intent, and we've got to knock all that down. That's why I said within the first 100 days, the first thing that this mayor is going to do if I'm elected, I'm moving my office from upstairs to downstairs. You know, when you walk into that city clerk's office and that little office is right there to the left with the glass on the front of it. I don't know who's in there, who's using that office right now, but get ready to find another desk because that's going to be the new mayor's office.
I'm a pastor. You being a pastor, some of the stuff you described kind of sounds like church.
You know, that's the sad reality.
You know, you've talked about a number of things here today, and we're talking with Bryan Taunton, candidate for mayor of Sylacauga, city of Sylacauga in the August city election. You talked about some things, and there's so many things that we're dealing with. Talk about a couple of things that has caught your attention that we must move on quickly.
Well, you know, some of the things that I've discussed in my 100-day plan is the fact, one, I've already mentioned, you know, I'm going to move my office. We've got to develop, I believe it's very important that we develop a cross-communication plan among all departments and understanding what's going on and what resources that you have so that we might be able to share. For instance, just a quick, small example, we tore down all that fencing at the former pool site. You know what the animal shelter needs? Fencing. We could have taken all that fencing and saved ourselves thousands of dollars and moved it over to the animal shelter. But there's no cross communication that's happening. Mm-hmm. So we want to put that in place so that we can start having those discussions. And another one I'm being laughed at about because I'm being told I don't know what I'm talking about, what it's going to take. But Jimmy Dale, we're having a lot of 100-year floods. And we've got to do something about this flood mitigation and the issues, the water and drainage issues that we have. We've got to make sure that if we have new developments in our city, that's something that we're taking a look at and what effect that's going to have on water drainage and runoff. It's not a difficult decision. I've watched this can on this issue get kicked around the city hall so much, it's ridiculous. I've watched good people walk away with tears in their eyes because they get absolutely no answers from city council or anybody within city hall. I shouldn't just limit that to city council. It's not a big issue. What do you do? How do you fix a water drainage issue? You start at the head and you start working your way down. What we've been doing is going all over and piecemealing, doing something here and doing something here, and in some cases doing favors here and doing favors there. Mm-hmm. And what that does is you fix this piece of property, okay, well it increases the water flow onto this piece of property, which still has issues. Now their problem becomes worse. And that's what we've got happening all throughout our city. We've got to create the partnerships that we need with the county and their resources, our city resources, and our private citizens. That's why I want to put together, within 100 days, if I'm elected, we'll put together a flood mitigation task force and start developing a plan to fix these issues.
Is the city of Sylacauga in dire straits financially?
Should not be, not that I'm aware of. If I get in there and we find out that we are, you know, that's a difficult question to answer because nobody will tell you those numbers. Should be an open window as to far as where we're at, how many assets we have, what we have, but that's a difficult question for me to answer. We should not be, and if we are, then there's something very suspicious going on, if that indeed proved to be true.
Final few moments with Bryan Taunton, candidate for the mayor's office here in Sylacauga on August 26th. We've talked a lot of things today, and we do appreciate you taking the time to come by. Last few minutes, why should people consider Bryan Taunton mayor of the city of Sylacauga?
First, I'd start off with the fact of I've proven my love and passion for our community and the amount of donated hours and volunteerism that I give to it. I feel very obviously engaged in our community. I understand what's happening and what's been going on. I've got a real vision and I talk about it. I've got a real platform that I am laying out there pretty much weekly. I'm putting out new information regarding what I'd like to see, what I believe our citizens want to see happen within our community, such as annexing the Mill Village. I got people in the Mill Village calling me and asking me to put signs in their yards, and they're not even in the city, because they love the idea of being annexed into the city to solve some of those issues over there. We could do a show on that alone. But I feel like I've got a real vision and a real handle on what the issues are in our city. And I definitely have a passion and a drive to get in there and fix the issue. For instance, our flooding on Broadway. Well, there's nothing we can do, is what some say. It's a state highway. Bull. Get on the phone every day, call ALDOT, burn the phones up, be the squeaky wheel, call Miss Kay Ivy, whoever we need to talk to. It's easy to see what our key issues are out there. And for those who would say, oh, well, it's not as simple as just grading down the pavement. There's gas lines and everything. Again, horse hockey. Stop kicking the can down the road. Gas lines aren't right under the surface of that street. We need to be hammering ALDOT to come down and grade that pavement down and help us mitigate that flooding issue that's going on, because that's most of the problem. It's draining off and coming, none of it is traveling down or off the side of the road. It's boiling over the curbs of the road. So we need to get on that. I've got a plan for that. I'm the guy that will be on the phone every day if I have to, until I irritate them so much that they just won't take our call when it comes to, and then what will I do? I'll go down there.
We haven't talked about this much at all, the animal shelter here in Sylacauga. Speak to that.
Well, that's a personal issue with me. I think it's one of the most neglected areas of community service in our city. God bless Stephanie and those that are down there. Nobody has any idea of the wear and tear that this woman's going through. This is a lady that gets up at 3 and 4 in the morning, and she's at work there. Why? Because she's understaffed. She doesn't have the facility is not what's needed. It wasn't built to be an animal shelter. The runoff from all the kennels doesn't flow properly. And it's been, last year they had heating and air went out. Can you imagine? You know, all those dogs and cats in there, and you've got no air in the middle of summer. It's so bad that our employees that are there go out to their car to sit and take a break and crank their cars up so they can get some relief. Wow. We need volunteers out there. They need help. And we've got to develop a sustainable plan. Where does that start? You know, Jimmy, it could be as simple as just simply enforcing a lot of the ordinances that we have on the books regarding pets. Why don't we just start right there?
Bryan, thank you for coming by today. And election's coming up in August. Where do we go from here with you? I guess all boots on the ground, right?
We're hitting the ground running. We're knocking on doors and kissing babies, shaking hands, as they say. I made the mistake the other day. I said shaking babies and kissing hands. I don't want to do that. But no, we're just getting out, meeting the people. I'm putting out on social media, I'm putting out 1 to 2 videos a week to put my platform out there. It's piecemeal. It's certainly not going to present all the answers, just like today. We can't present all the answers and the full vision in 30 minutes. It's not going to happen. But we can give everyone an idea of the direction that I'll lead, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Can the city of Sylacauga move forward August 26th?
Jimmy, if I can get in office with the right city council, we could turn this city around in 6 months. We'll get it headed in the right direction, and people will start hearing wonderful things out of City Hall if we're able to do. If we just could stop the chatter within City Hall and get rid of this division between the upstairs and the downstairs, the police department, the fire department, all this muck that's going on in our city, and keep the city council out of the business of the city and let them just do their job.
How can people get in touch with you?
And they can reach me at my website at bryantauntonformayor.com. You can call me, 205-746-8864. I got no problems with you calling me. And if you don't get me, leave a message, because I will call you back.
Bryan Taunton, our guest today, and Bryan, candidate for Sylacauga City Council in the August 26th city election.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next time.